Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
Hello and welcome to the Smells Like Infinite Sadness podcast. I'm your host, Michael Taylor. For those of you who don't know, I run the website, smellslikeinfinitesadness.com. It's a blog covering the best alternative rock from the 80s and 90s up to present day. I'm a proud middle-aged Gen Xer who is still obsessed with the music of his youth and loves to talk about it. And today in the podcast, I'm talking with Paul Humphreys, a co-founder of Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, also known as OMD, one of the most influential and innovative synth-pop bands to emerge from the UK in the late 70s and early 80s. While you might know the band from iconic tracks like If You Leave or Enola Gay, OMD's legacy goes far beyond their hits, and they're still creating powerful, forward-thinking music today. In fact, their latest album, Bauhaus Staircase, has been called their most political and musically daring in decades, and it might also be their last. The band recently headlined at LA's Cruel World Festival and are now in the midst of their current U.S. tour. I spoke with Paul about the tour, the band's evolution, the intersection of technology and emotion in their music, and what it's like to bring both new material and old classics to the stage in 2025. Here's our conversation. So I hear you got to experience Buc-ee's. How was that?
Yeah, Buc-ee's. Well, Buc-ee's is an experience, isn't it, really? It was actually my first Buc-ee's experience.
Yeah, it's a little overwhelming.
Might be my last, but there you go.
Yeah. Well, thanks for taking the time out to talk to me today. I just wanted to kick off with, I know that you recently started your 2025 U.S. tour. So how has that been going so far? What have been some of the highlights? And are you enjoying being back in the States again?
Yeah, I mean, this was a tour that we postponed from last year. So it was a bit disappointing that we had to cancel last year. So we're just happy to be able to be doing it now, you know. And I mean, all the shows have been amazing. You know, I think... the attendances have been fantastic. When we kicked it off at the in LA at the Cruel World Festival.
Oh yes.
That's when we started, and I mean it was quite a show to start the tour with, really, because a lot of people, a lot of bands, but it was great fun, and now we're properly out on the road. We've got a few shows under our belt. It's actually quite a long tour. You know, it's almost 8 weeks long.
Oh wow! So this is a very extensive tour. Well, you know, I was wondering, because Cruel World is such an amazing lineup they always have each year. And so it's great that you all got to be a part of that. But when you're thinking about doing shows like that in your tour, coming up with a set list, I imagine it's going to be kind of daunting figuring out like which hits to include, which newer songs to include. How do you decide and whittle that down? And how hard is it to come up with a set list for a tour?
Well, for the festival, it was easy because we just play the most known hits in America, you know, because we only played for like 50 minutes or something. But this was actually still part of our should have been part of our Bauhaus Staircase tour last year. So it was kind of advertised as that. So we're playing sort of 5 songs from the new album, actually. But, you know, out of sort of 22 songs. So, you know, we'll still be playing what we always do, the songs that are most well-known, songs that are more well-known in America. I mean, we do sort of tailor our show to the country that we go to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Depending on, you know, what was most successful.
Well, I really do like your most recent album. I think Bauhaus Staircase is very strong, and you know, both sonically and lyrically, it feels like classic OMD, but still sounds contemporary. Why do you think it's resonated so well? And I know commercially it was your highest charting album in the UK, if I understood that right. Is that true?
Yeah, it got to number 2. It was only Taylor Swift that kept us off the number 1 spot.
Oh, wow.
No, nobody beats Taylor Swift. We beat the Rolling Stones. We got to number 2, and the Rolling Stones went in at 3. So for us, that was a big result. You know?
No, that's great.
But yeah, it's been very well received. I mean, every time we make a new OMD album, we kind of say to ourselves, it'll probably be the last. And it was the same after The Punishment of Luxury. But then COVID happened. We got seriously bored in lockdown. And then Andy just started texting me, you got any ideas? You got any ideas? You got any ideas? I was in the south of France and he was in Liverpool. So we sort of started off some things remotely And we got a couple of songs done that we liked, and so as we normally do, we go, well, let's just keep going and see where this goes, and then of course we have a new album, you know. But yeah, I mean, I think since we got back together, I think towards the end of the '80s, I think we kind of got a bit too far away from our original roots, sort of very, electronic experimental roots. And I think when we started making records again, when we got back together in the 2000s, we kind of decided that we should go all the way back to our roots, be more simplistic, be more electronic, be more experimental. Because we were always very experimental in the early days, but it wasn't for its own sake. It was just, it was kind of, we've always had that sort of side to us. Music has always been our art, but we've always managed to kind of write good tunes. So we've always had the commercial side to us as well. But so we wanted to strike that balance again with the last few albums, and I think with Bauhaus Staircase we definitely did that.
Yeah, I agree. It's a really great, kind of elements of what makes OMD great, and you've got, the lyrically, and looking into politics and musically, just really kind of encompassing all your sound. And I know you're saying that every album you kind of look at as the last, but given the political tumult going on in the world today, especially in the U.S., has that given you any inspiration for maybe making another album?
Yeah, I mean, and also in the UK, there's we haven't been happy with we're always, Andy and I have always been politically switched on, and we've always tried to kind of incorporate without being too preachy, incorporate our sort of ideas and our feelings about the modern world into our songs. And we had all kinds of things going on in the UK with Brexit, where we left Europe, which was just a sort of a case of mass self-harm, it's Britain shooting itself in the foot many times.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of aggravated us. And of course, I mean, there's, around the world, there's a real sort of lean to the right of politics at the moment, which is not, our ideal. It's not where we come from politically. So yeah, we've had a lot to say, really. We've always had a lot to say. I mean, from day one, we've always kind of put in our what we're thinking of and where we're at the time. We've kind of incorporate into our music, and I think it's never really changed. I think with this album, we've been a bit more overtly political than we usually are. Looking at the state of the world as well, with Anthropocene and the evolution of species and stuff. Looking at the state of our planet as well, which is concerning us.
Yes.
So yeah. So yeah, we've always kind of. When we started the band, we didn't want to just write love songs, and I think we, in a way, we took a bit of a blueprint from Kraftwerk, who wrote songs about really interesting things, and I think we kind of took that as a way forward,
Well, also you've all been very much sonic pioneers as far as electronic music is concerned, and I was wondering, early on, I'm sure you employed lots of analog synths. Now that you're in your career at this point, what does your setup look like? Have you kind of have an arrangement of classic like analog synths and digital stuff, or how do you what's your stage gear and your recording setup like now?
It's interesting actually, because some younger bands who making electronic music, they go on eBay and try to buy the original sort of synths that we used to use.
Mm-hmm.
But for us, we just still got them in the cupboard. We do everything in the box now. The digital synths are fantastic, and I think our album sounds quite analog. Yeah, there isn't an analog synth on the album.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's incredible the advance of technology now and what you can do. I mean, I did a kind of geeky experiment. I had a physical Prophet 5 synthesizer, and I had a digital version of it. I tried to make the same sound, which I did. And then I did a blind test to pick the analog and the digital, and I got it wrong. And so when I did that experiment, I thought, well, if I can't tell the difference between analog and digital, who can? So yeah, and on stage, the technology is fantastic now. In the 80s, we used to take all our analog stuff with us on stage, and it was forever breaking down. It could never stay in tune, And now with all the digital stuff, I just basically have one keyboard and a laptop. I'm basically playing a sampler, a digital sampler.
Oh, wow.
I spent 3 months. I did have to buy some of the early synths when I went this route. I had to go on eBay and buy some of the very early synths that we used so I could sample them to get the exact same sound coming out the sampler, And there was a funny moment where we needed our first Korg micro preset, which we did the first 2 albums with. And they're quite rare, and ours had just blown up. So I needed one. So we were looking for one on eBay, and one night one came up, and I was just, someone else really, really wanted it, and so I'm bidding and bidding and bidding and bidding. I'm going to get this. And the other person was like, well, I'm going to get this. I was bidding against Andy. So we came way over the odds for this synth. We didn't need to.
Can't make that stuff up. That's hilarious.
But yeah, I mean, we really find it important to have as close to the original sounds from the records, because our songs are very sound specific, So it's very important for us to, when we play live, to get as close to the original sounds as possible. So a lot of effort has gone into that.
When you're playing a lot of the classic songs, are there any that are particularly challenging to play, or have you been playing them so long that it's all fairly effortless, or there's some that you're like, they just get a little trickier or more complex than others?
No, I think that we've been playing them so much, and also we put it, as I say, we put a lot of effort into the live shows. So we rehearse. We're sticklers for rehearsing a lot before we go on the road. We get together and rehearse for weeks to just get up to speed, so that when we get on stage, everything's kind of easy, really. So yeah, I mean, the thing about our songs is that they're never very difficult to play, although electricity is getting harder to play, because the older I get, the more arthritis I get in my fingers.
Oh.
but it's more the arrangements that are complicated, and the way we kind of interlock the sounds, really, rather than the actual parts to play.
And when you're playing newer tracks, like Kleptocracy is a really great one. I don't know if I pronounced it right. Anthropocene, is that correct? Or
Anthropocene, yeah. Anthropocene.
Are there any that are particularly well received by the crowd that kind of embrace it like classic songs?
Yeah, I mean, they seem to kind of drop into the set sort of seamlessly, really. They seem to be very well accepted by the fans. Because we do play a Kleptocracy and we do play Anthropocene. We start the show with it, actually. And we've got some really interesting visuals as well. So we've got a giant screen behind us. So yeah, it's been quite amazing how our fans have taken to the new record, and we don't just do a whole section of, oh, here's the new album, and everyone goes to the bar.
Yeah,
we kind of spread them out throughout the sort of hour and 45 minutes or 2 hours or whatever we play for. And so they just seem to slot in nicely, and we're very pleased with the way they're going now.
And you and Andy have worked together for decades, obviously. Has your creative process evolved, or has it kind of always been the same formula that you use, or how has it worked over the years as far as from your beginnings till now?
Well, it changed with this album, because a lot of the initial ideas for Bauhaus Staircase were sort of developed when I was in France and Andy was in Liverpool. So what we normally like to do is to sit down in a room together. We kind of amass a few ideas before we get together, and then we just chuck them in the room when we get together and bounce them around. And sort of, it's like painters when if they just do like just a pencil line drawing first before you color it in,
Mm-hmm.
And we do kind of line drawings together in a room, and then we both take their ideas away, because we've got identical systems on our computers, so it makes it really easy to share files. And that's how we normally like to do it, to sort of throw ideas into a room together. But with writing in COVID, we obviously couldn't do that. So it was a different way of working. But, we managed to make it work. We were just sort of at the mercy of our internet connections.
Yeah.
Sending massive files. And the the more the songs got more complex, the longer it took to send them. And I was in a remote part of France, so internet wasn't great. I said to Andy, "I'll send it overnight. Hope you'll get it in the morning or the afternoon."
A few hours. Well,
So not really instant work, but it was worth it.
and you've sung lead on several beloved tracks. When you're writing a song that you might sing, do you approach it any differently creatively? And how do you normally decide on who sings what? I ask this because I've always been a fan of your voice. Souvenir is a personal favorite of mine. So I was just kind of curious how you decide who sings what and how that works as far as adapting it for your own voice.
I mean, what's traditionally happened is that it's like with Souvenir, for instance. Andy was on holiday, and I was staying home to do various things. I decided to go in the studio one day, and a friend of mine knocked on the door. A guy called Dave Hughes, and he had all these choir tapes. He'd been recording a choir in a local studio, and he had all of these. He finished the choir early and got them to just sing single notes. So he came to my studio and said, "If you make loops out of these notes, and you can take a copy and do something with it." So that night, I just kind of made all the choral sounds for Souvenir, and I just kind of ran with it. And then I got to the point where I wanted to hear a vocal on it, and Andy wasn't there. So I thought, well, I'll just sketch a vocal down and I'll get Andy to sing it when he gets home. So so when Andy got home, I played it to him, and I said to do you want to go out and have a go at singing it? And he said, no. It sounds just fine with you. You should be singing this one. And it was the same with Forever Live and Die. I wrote it when he wasn't around as well. I just kind of didn't want to wait for him to get home to do a vocal. So I just kind of did a sketch vocal on it and ended up me being the singer. I mean, I'm kind of a reluctant lead singer, really. I prefer doing backup vocals and have Andy do the lead, but I think it just, it does add a different color, and particularly when we do play live. There's like 3 songs that I sing lead, because I'll sing Secret, Forever Live and Die, and Souvenir. And it gives Andy a break on stage. Gives the voice a break. And it kind of, it's just a different color, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I kind of worked out.
And then, you've been making music since the early 80s. Now you've got fans spanning different generations. What's it like to see that cross-generational connection to songs that you created so long ago, and seeing how it's just still living on and still, being seen as so vibrant and contemporary?
Yeah, it's quite amazing to us, really, the fact that we're still doing this after all these years. We still have lots of people coming to see us play live around the world, and people are still enjoying our music and saying nice things about it. And I think the digital revolution was a kind of a blessing and a curse, really, because it kind of took a lot of the money out of the industry and music became less valuable. But the positive side of the digital revolution was that people have access to vast amounts of music. They don't have to go to record stores and go through the imports and find rarities. They can find everything online, and the algorithms and Spotify and Apple Music and stuff will send people to, if you like this, you might like that. And it's kind of introduced our music to a lot of younger people. And it's been very noticeable, particularly in the last sort of 5 or 6 years, how, as we get older, our audience gets younger, which is kind of very strange, really. But I think it's down to that. And I think, there's a lot of young electronic bands who cite us as an influence. They say that their fans check us out. And then go, let's go and see them live and see how they are, So yeah, we've got a sort of a growing audience of younger people who come and see us, which is nice.
So it's kind of like the trade-off. Like Spotify obviously has issues as far as paying artists, what they're really worth. But the flip side is that you get exposure to people who may not have heard your music before. So I imagine that's kind of a catch-22.
That's kind of the upside of it.
Are there any current bands that you feel influenced by you that you really like? Are there any current electronic bands that are on your radar that you listen to, or nothing in particular that jumps out at you?
Nothing particular jumps out, but we're always switched on. People, because we're always very busy. We, to find interesting things, you have to really invest a bit of time these days. Because, in the sort of 70s, 80s, 90s, radio, there was certain radio stations that you could go to find what's cool and interesting. Now it's so diverse with the internet, and there's like a million online radio stations. There's no sort of gatekeeper to channel you to interesting things. So you kind of left to your own devices in a way. So I rely on my friends to send me interesting new things, friends who have a bit more time on their hands than I do.
Yeah, because it used to be back in the 80s or 90s, it was like very much driven by what magazines you read, and they kind of turn you on to new stuff. That's how I used to find bands that I like.
And the charts as well. There was like the independent charts or the mainstream charts. There was only a couple of charts, and you could see what's bubbling, in terms of record sales. Now there's about 100,000 different charts. What one do you look at? So, so there's no way to kind of there's no sort of area to just instantly go to see what's new and interesting. So you're left to your own devices.
So in some ways that's great. And other times it's overwhelming because there's so much different choices out there. But like modern music really has kind of become so pop focused that it really is harder, I think, to find the more interesting, alternative and left of center things that, like OMD, that made you guys so special. So I think it's great that you've created enough of a body of work that now that you're able to kind of exist as your own genre, really. And able to...
I think it was mainly really because, I feel sorry for new bands. I mean, Andy and I often say in this climate, we probably wouldn't exist because, we kind of were at the right place at the right time. We started when the infrastructure, there was an infrastructure to promote you. There was, record companies were buoyant. They had lots of money. They were investing in artists. They let you fail. They let you fail for several albums, but they would stick with you if they believed in you. And they would, help to create the sort of global brand. Bands now, I mean, we see it all the time. There's bands that we take on the road with us. We try to give a stage to new, interesting artists coming up. And, but we've seen in the past, even though we've given them a stage and a big audience to play to, they struggle because the infrastructure is not there to help them.
Yeah.
And they have to have, 100,000 Facebook friends, in order for a record company to even talk to them, which is like, it's ridiculous. So they have to do their own self-promotion, and artists are terrible at promoting themselves. We're all terrible at it. All we want to do is write songs and be artists. We don't want to spend all our time online on social media trying to get likes and try to get friends, And so, it's become very difficult for new bands, and most of them, they can't get record deals, so they can't get financial support. Basically, you used to use the labels as banks, to fund you to keep going, so you could just concentrate on the music and everything else got taken care of. And a lot of new artists don't have that. So they have to have day jobs, so they have to do their band as a hobby. And breaking out of that is very difficult because, if they're working 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, they can only do gigs at the weekends, and they can't go that far to do concerts. They can't do tours, so it's a bit of a catch-22 for a lot of new artists now. And I've seen some really interesting artists just fall by the wayside because they can't afford to do it anymore. And there's no one there to help, so.
Yeah, it really is a shame because, I mean, the record company days obviously had strings that were pulled and things like that. And now it's something, I wish there was like a happy medium so that newer bands could get more support and not have, because social media, it's a whole new thing that didn't used to even exist. So it's kind of like a whole other kind of time sucker for people who are trying just to make music.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, in the sort of 70s, 80s, and also in the 90s, there was, because there was quite a lot of money in the industry, they had an artist, they used to put a percentage of their income, the record labels, into artist development. And so, they could sign 10 bands, sink a load of money into them, and 1 or 2 would be successful, but that was still a big result for the label. But now there's not even an artist development budget. So I feel sorry for some bands.
And
sorry.
Oh, that's okay. And so once your tour wraps up, are there any future plans for OMD? Do you think you all may try to make a new album, and also, do you have any things that you do on any side projects or things that you work on that you might be working on after the tour?
There's always things bubbling, I think we're going to take a bit of a break after this tour. We toured Australia recently. Our families are missing us. But the thing is, when I get home, I've got a big studio in my house. Andy's got a big studio in his house. Sometimes we just get bored. We just go down and I'll ping Andy something, or he'll ping me something. What do you think of this? And that's how new ideas start, new projects start. So, I never say never anymore. Because, I think we'll probably keep writing music till we drop, to be honest. Because it's something that we love to do. Whether that's a new OMD album, I don't know. It could be another project. It could be a film. Who knows? Yeah.
I definitely hope that you all keep doing new music, because I will definitely be there to listen to it. And I'm looking very forward to the Austin show. I'll be there for that. So I'm very excited for that. So, thank you very much, Paul, for taking time to talk to me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to me. I really enjoyed it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I'll see you all next week.
I'll see you next week. Take care.
Many thanks to Paul Humphreys of OMD for taking time out for the interview today. The latest album, Bauhaus Staircase, is available now. It's well worth a listen, whether you're a longtime fan of OMD or just discovering their deeper catalog. If you get a chance to see them live, definitely do so. I know I'm looking forward to seeing their show in Austin this week. You can get tickets for their upcoming shows at omd.uk.com. And let's close out today with one of the singles off Bauhaus Staircase. We'll close with Kleptocracy. So give it a listen. I think you'll like it. And until next time, stay safe and stay sane.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.